That would be pretty amazing.
I
That
got
would be
pretty,
pretty
I got
amazing.
pretty angry with some doofus last night, calling me to blow up a deal at 8:30 at night. I'm like, he wanted me to wake up the seller to give him a month extension so his buyer maybe could buy. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. No way. I'm not waking up the seller because of your real estate emergency. I said, do you have another job? What the heck are you doing? The last time you called me was on January 1 at 9:30 at night to tell me you sent me an email. That's just rude,
That
you
does
know?
sound like somebody's got a different job and is doing this on the side. And,
Exactly.
geez, I'd be a little bit frustrated too. I mean, I will say, and it's not like you at all, but I do have a lot of people who have my number. And so I'll get text messages from them or they'll try calling. And I hardly ever answer my phone. But text messages, man, if I don't reply to them, holy cow, I'm some sort of an evil person. And I'm like, but I'm not an evil person. I'm just,
There's just a lot going on and you
yeah,
try to get to everything, you there's 6,300 agents in the Pikes Peak region, 40,000 agents in Denver. Those agents are too cheap to spend $30 a month to see our MLS to get the detail from our MLS. So they just call me.
so that's what they're trying to do. Oh my gosh.
Drives me nuts. And most of the time I'll text them and go, I'm not. Somebody called last night after 9 p.m. Well, call me back when you can. It's like there's no big deal to do that. Some agent with a question. I'm like, dude, I said, I'm not calling you back tonight. Not gonna happen. Yeah, they
Meanwhile,
wanted me to try to convince the seller to extend the contract. And then lender didn't call. They knew about this all weekend long, never notified me at all until it was a real estate emergency. And now they're worried about protecting his earnest money, which if you knew the contract, it doesn't matter. Earnest money's fully refundable. So, but, I can't fix stupid. So, uh, you know, well, if you don't give us what we want, we'll terminate. I said, I don't care what you do. I'm not going to wake up the seller because of your real estate emergency. And some BS about, well, he can't buy because something that happened during COVID. I'm like, that was 5 years ago. You know, I just, so I kind of sent the same scathing email to the lender, go, really? After 22 days, you can't figure this out? So, um, oh, well, I'm not, because of privacy, I can't really tell you what's going on.
you know what?
Yes.
I mean, there are times when things are very challenging in my life or at home. And all I ever have to do is tell somebody, things are, challenging or they got some issues at home. I'll get back to you tomorrow or whatever. Everybody seems to understand if that's the case. They don't expect you to just drop everything and, give them a call or whatever. And I don't expect people to, bend everything around simply because I'm having a challenge. She may well be having a challenge, but that does not.
But you also don't wait until the deadline
Right.
before you let them know, hey, I'm kind of going through some stuff right now. I'm trying to
After
work through.
business hours,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it, we're
it's just
coming up
not,
to.
it's like, when would you call your doctor at 9:30 at night?
It's only an emergency. I mean,
That's the only way. That if you were dying and he asked you to do it, you might, but you'll probably go to the emergency room.
right.
You won't even call him. That's how real estate agents operate. So,
All right, I'm good. You ready, Barb?
so maybe I should retire, then I'll quit squawking about it. But
No, I think it's entertaining, quite honestly. I know you have to pay the price for it,
I
but
think the show might get more fun.
yeah, that, that is true. They would have
Go
watch
back and
parties. All the other real estate agents would have a big watch party with
for
voodoo
that one,
dolls and pincushions and yeah.
right?
but not only that, she could actually call out people individually and say, "Oh, let me tell you about her."
Yeah. It's just interesting to me that the people that will tell me they'll send an email. Like if I did a marketing campaign for agents, I would never work with you. You're this and you're that. And I'm like, I don't even know you. I never met you. Where does this come from? You know? Anyway, I don't care.
Haters gonna hate, or whatever that saying used to be.
Oh, I heard all about you.
Yep.
Yeah, it must be true. So, okay. Well, I think we're ready.
All right, I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. With Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is also a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or search for Barb. You'll find her on almost all the podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Barb is the host of the program, and every week Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of people's largest assets, the home. So, Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, Richard, I'm covering this first topic just because it's been in the news. You know, I think, I don't know if it's Trump or somebody else is making the Wall Street real estate investors the bad guys. So the first topic is about, are the Wall Street investors really inflating the real estate market or not? I think you'll be surprised at some of the statistics that I actually come up with. I'll admit, they were buying in this market probably from 2014 all the way through 2022. They were probably buying anywhere from 500 to 700 homes in Colorado Springs, equal numbers in Denver, etc. And it did impact the market during the boom, but as soon as the rates went up, then their offers started coming in 10% below asking price. And so, you know, they got lower and lower, and they just kind of stepped out of buying at that point. So I don't think it's a now thing, but I think there's some other ways to probably help the real estate market. And then the second topic I'd like to talk about is, how do you know if your asking price on your home is too high? I just finished showing about 30 homes over 3 days to an out-of-town buyer, and it was fun for me to see their perception of the market through their eyes. And just looking at the homes, I was kind of struck at the volume of homes that were on the market, the fact that they weren't selling. And the overall gut feeling was these are all overpriced, and they all have some kind of issue, you know, like the carpet is tired, or the driveway is steep, or one of them we affectionately named the stinky house. Nice home, but it smelled like dirty diapers were left in a trash can, and we couldn't figure out why. It was an empty home. So we'll talk about that. How do you know, and what can you do to solve it if that's your problem? And then the third topic we're going to talk about is, how and why should you change real estate agents if the sale is not working? I'm not suggesting you do that, you know, but there are times when it makes sense to make a change. And the very last topic, of course, is, what are the costs of selling a home? I think a lot of people are really surprised. Most people will go straight after commission as if the commission is the biggest expense, but actually it's not. So we'll talk about some details of that so you can kind of plan ahead if you are thinking of making a move. Richard?
So, Barb, with the real estate market cooling off a little bit, rates are higher. The governments, both federal and state, are trying to pass legislation to restrict the volume of home institutional real estate investors and how much they can buy. Some to as low as perhaps 10 houses. Do you think Wall Street investors are really inflating the real estate market?
Not right now. I think they did back during the boom. They absolutely did. Basically, I'll just give one example of the institutional investors. They weren't the only one, but this is just one. BlackRock had this spinoff company called Home Partners. And Home Partners went out to all the real estate offices and said, hey, real estate agent, if you find somebody willing to rent any home for 1 year, we'll come in and pay full price cash so they can rent it from us. And sometimes they would engage in bidding wars and pay way over asking price against other buyers in order to get the house. So I do think there was some inflationary pressure. I do think there was some inflationary pressure back then during the boom, but that's not the case anymore. In fact, that particular investor is starting to resell those properties. Many times they would give that tenant of the homes that they would buy the option to purchase the home once they qualified for a loan. So probably anywhere from 35 to 60% of the people that rented those homes, if they could get a loan, were buying BlackRock out. And now they're starting to sell those properties. So we're seeing them hit the market. The housing demand in the last 3 years, since the mortgage rates went up, has dropped by over 10%. And the reason for that is that for buyers, it's all about house payment and affordability. So we went from 3-ish% interest rate on a mortgage all the way up to 7.5%. It's since settled down a little bit around 6%. So if you bought a home in Colorado Springs in 2022 or after that, and you're looking to turn around and sell it right away, guess what? You're going to lose money because the market did retract after that big boom. 1 out of 6 homes right now, very few, sell for over asking price. That's only if the seller prices it right. Now, what's interesting about mortgage rates is that it didn't seem to matter. The Fed has dropped the rate 7 times since they've been encouraging him to drop the rates that the banks borrow money, but it's had zero impact on mortgage rates. It's kind of like apples and oranges. So what we've seen right now is just in the last week or so, the mortgage interest rate dropped about a 1/4 point. It's just hovering just over 6% for conventional and 5.5 to 5.7 for the government loans, FHA and VA. So that's good. It's coming down very, very gradually. And there's some solutions that the government is coming up with to try to boost the real estate market. Some areas say we have an inventory problem. I'm seeing inventory climb up pretty good. There's a lot of choices out there. And then the Fed lowering the rates didn't work. They tried a 50-year mortgage, which is almost like renting a home for 50 years. You're not really going to build any equity that way. That failed. They also are talking about transporting, like if you currently have a house with a low interest rate and you sell that home and move on to another home, they're talking about making that mortgage that you had on that house transferable to your new house, which I love that idea. I think it would really help the market. I don't know how it's going to work, but it is very cool. And then the latest thing I heard is Trump is trying to encourage Fannie and Freddie to purchase more loans on the secondary market. So when you go get a mortgage, it originates with one lender, and sometimes you'll get notice in the mail that, oh, your loan is sold to so-and-so. That is the secondary market. So if they buy more of those, it could bring down the interest rate and lower what they call the yield, bond rate for yield. So I'm sure I said that wrong, but anyway, it could lower mortgage rates. So we saw a little bit of inflationary, but the truth is the actual numbers on the amount of large institutional investors buying homes is only about 2 to 3% of all rental homes owned right now. The concentrations are places like Atlanta, Dallas, Phoenix. They control a larger percentage, like 10 to 27% of the rental homes. But in actuality, the people that own the rental homes are like mom and pop investors. They are not necessarily BlackRock. And at the end of the day, the buyers these days are more focused on price, even more than interest rates. So I thought that was an interesting fact from a survey done by this one guy that puts out stats about where the market values are going. And Colorado Springs area has some issues. We're number 2 in the country for the volume of foreclosures. Well, why is that? It's not because the market is bad, because it's really not. I mean, normally January and February are fairly quiet for real estate. It has not been my experience. I'm busier than I've been in the summer right now. But there's a lot of military and veterans buying in this home. We have in this market, we've got 5 different military bases around town, lots of turnover going on. And most of those buyers are buying homes with 0 down, right? So if they bought back in 2022 with 0 down when they were facing bidding wars and things like that, chances are if they try to turn around and sell 3 or 4 years later, they may not have the equity to make it happen. Just as an example, I have one on the market right now owned by the VA that sold for $465 in the Powers Corridor in 2022, and we have it under contract right now for $365. That's a big difference, $100,000 delta, because the market has shifted. So we've got what's going on. The prices are slightly dropping, right? And it really depends on the house and how it's presented. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about whether or not Wall Street investors are inflating the real estate market. When we come back, we're going to touch on how you can prepare and plan if you are thinking of making a move. And if you are, give us a call, 719-301-3900. We help hundreds and hundreds of people every single year sell homes, and we'd love to help you. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing where home prices are expected to go in 2026. What are the other predictions, and how should listeners prepare for them?
Well, Richard, preparing your home for sale, it's what I call the 4 Ps, pricing, preparation, picking the right agent, and making sure it's promoted properly. I get people asking me questions all the time about how it was promoted before, maybe with another agent or even when they bought it, and how they weren't happy with it, right? But there are some situations where a home may not be selling because of the house. Things like maybe it has a location issue. Maybe it backs to a busy street. Maybe it needs work. Maybe it has a lot of new construction competition. The builders make it very enticing for buyers to come in and buy their homes, and very easy. And then maybe the marketing isn't very good. So at the end of the day, it's a seller decision to price it realistically. Now, most of them are going off of what their agents are saying or what the market's doing. And we talk about pricing all the time. So a lot of people think that if they go up on Zillow gives a Zestimate of every home, which is a guess of its home value. But the truth is, Zillow is using the average of the homes available for sale on the market, the homes that have not sold. So every month, 1 out of 3 homes are selling. So that means their Zestimate of value is based on the homes that are not selling. That doesn't make sense, but that's what they do. And people think they're the gold standard. So we can help you price for success. All you have to do is give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking about selling or buying, you want to get in touch with Barb. Your home sold. It's guaranteed. And if you're thinking of making that move, the number is 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to know if the asking price on your home is too high. Barb's got that answer. I'm always tempted when the question is, so what should people do? And I'm like, well, I think you should just give Barb a call. Maybe that would be
That'd be nice.
one of the things. Let's start there.
Hmm.
All right. All right. I'll count us down in three,
Right.
two. You good, Barb?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. Three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, we're hearing a lot in the news about the government trying to make improvements to the housing market. What are your thoughts on why a home may not be selling in the current market conditions?
Well, Richard, we're having more and more of that lately. The average days on market keeps creeping up every single month, 90 days, 100 days. We're up to 126 average days on market. And that average number, that data point, is not based on all the homes. It's based on only the homes that are getting contracts. The ones that are not, guess what? They're still sitting there. So it's getting longer and longer. But in general, if a house is not selling, there has to be a point of reality check where you go, all right, is it preparation? Is it pricing? Is it promotion? Is it the agent? It could be any one of those things. So preparation, if your home is priced well below market, it's okay to sell it as is. It does say in the contract the home is sold as is, where is, with all its faults, right? But almost every buyer will say that, yeah. They'll get a contract, they'll do an inspection, and they're going to ask for stuff. Okay. There are a few exceptions to that, like if there's multiple offers or if the seller's like, I'm strictly as is. There's no joke about that. Um, so most buyers don't want to buy a home that needs work, right? They're getting in with all they have in their budget. And so now all of a sudden they have to turn around and put in new carpet. I looked at one home last weekend. It was a beautiful floor plan, but it was just the carpet. All they had to do was spend a few $1,000s and replace the carpet. That thing would have been gone. But instead, the buyers saw work and they decided not to make an offer on that one. So how can you really tell if a home is priced too high? Well, there's kind of some rule of thumbs that I go by, and we'll go into the detail of that. But I just want to first tell you a story about my showing experience working with a buyer over the past weekend. We looked at least 30 homes in a really good price range where I was expecting to see something nice. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. All these homes were empty, all appeared to be overpriced. Many of them had easy fixable issues: the stinky house, the sloppy finishes, the backsplash without edging, poor presentation, nice home, but then they get these Glade plugins and just overwhelm the home with this just strong, stinky smell that actually some people are allergic to. Don't do that. That tells the buyer that you're covering up something that does stink. And also, we were showing in the snow. Very few people removed the snow. Finally, day 2, I brought a shovel with me, and the buyer helped me clear a path to go look at these homes. All of them were vacant. That was between 450 and 700,000. Every single one of them was vacant. So, that's a clue, right? You've got these prices, they're sitting there with these high prices. They're not moving, they're vacant, which gets very expensive and risky, right? Something's got to give. So I just felt like, the market's kind of at this precipice of the prices are probably going to drop a little bit more. And what makes a buyer fall in love? So generally, a buyer is going to fall in love if they just have to have it, right? It's not if it's just okay. And it's probably not if they're thinking they're going to have to put a lot of money in it to make it the home for them. I've had people tell me they bought homes that were posted on Facebook because it had something special about it. It might not have been in good condition, but it was a good price on big acreage. Last weekend, I had over I think it was 8 offers on one of my listings because the seller chose to price it right and just get the basic stuff taken care of: carpet, paint, fix the obvious broken things. And generally, if you price a home below similar sales right now, I feel like the buyers are going to come. But if you hold on to this artificially high number, it may not work. Now, a lot of people think that Zillow is the one that determines what the home is worth. But I'm here to tell you that the owner of Zillow missed his home value by $500,000. His estimate was 1.5 million in Seattle. It sold for 1 million. Why is that? Because they're averaging the homes that are not selling as a price, right? If they're not selling, they're overpriced. It's just that simple. And then, telling buyers, I don't know. So what Zillow does, they became a $1 billion company on top of the real estate industry by consuming the information from the MLS data, really creating a better mousetrap for the buyers to search homes on. So they beat us in that category, right? And now they have 64% of the buyer's eyes in any given market in the country. And so what they do with the buyer's eyes is they put a little green button in there. It says you want to schedule a viewing of this home, click this green button right here. Everybody thinks when they click the green button, they're going to get the listing agent, but that's just not true. You're going to get some random agent that's paying for leads on Zillow. That's how Zillow became a $1 billion company. They've never seen the home. They don't know anything about the home. And they are not going to verify that the buyer can buy the home. If that agent doesn't meet the buyer at the house, the buyer's going to go find somebody else who will. That's how it works. So they only want the agent to open the door for them, and then they might be interested, or they might not be. So I think we are kind of approaching another little slight correction in the market. That was just my feeling. Look at all these homes empty, sitting on the market. They were okay, but they didn't excite anybody. Something's going to have to give. And even in the springtime, we're going to see that happen, even with the rates slowly, gradually dropping now. And this is my advice for sellers. You only get one shot with the buyer. The first shot is online. That is on hiring the right agent that presents the home properly. Okay. Then if the buyer comes in the house, you still have to impress them. So if within 30 days, you're not getting offers, something's wrong. The best feedback on showings is an offer. I mean, other feedback is just constructive. Well, the carpet's dirty, or the house was stinky, or whatever it was. But in general, you only get one shot to make an impression, and you have to do that really, really well, hopefully within the first 30 days, or make an adjustment if it doesn't work. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about how do you tell if your asking price is too high? And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to tell about that and what to do about it. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing the how of how to tell if the asking price on a home is simply too high. What are some of the things that home sellers should do to solve that issue of a home not selling?
Well, I mean, a majority of the home sellers that I speak to want the most money, which is understandable, okay? But many of them also want to sell it for a fair price. And they don't want to give away their alleged equity. The problem is, what is the equity? I feel like Zillow is leading them down the path with their fake estimates, making them think that it's worth more than it actually is. But the market's going to speak to you within probably a week or two, whether or not you nailed the price. So how do you set the price and create demand? Most agents will look at what they call comparable sales. So that's theoretically with an appraiser, that's comparing apples to apples. But what is the purpose of an appraiser? Purpose of an appraiser is to substantiate that historic sales sold to verify with the lender it's worth the contract price and that the home meets the loan guidelines. So similar sales really are just for the appraisal, okay? Especially when a market is correcting. So the best strategy is to price it even more aggressively when the market is correcting. Now, I would look at, for me, a better benchmark is what is your current competition, and more especially which homes are going under contract and why, and how they compare to your house. You have to take all these factors into consideration. What are the market conditions? What's the motivation of the seller? I've met with sellers that are like, I don't want anybody coming through my house. I just want to sell it as is and really fast. Do you have any buyers in your back pocket? Which we do. So it really depends on the motivation of the seller. But I think a lot of people out there are kind of getting bad advice. So the market's going to tell you almost immediately if you missed the mark. Are you getting plenty of showings? If you're getting at least 6 showings a week, you're on target. Or if you're getting more than that, that's a really good sign. There's some other benchmarks I look at, like the ratio of Zillow views to saves. But it's always good to price the home what I call realistically versus optimistically. And if your house is not selling, you got to make an adjustment to get the buyers to bite. And you can tell, if you're getting no showings, we're way off. If you're getting just onesies, twosies, we're also way off. If you're getting showings here and there, but no offers, we're still off, right? And if you're getting maybe lowball offers, you're a little bit off. And if you're getting offers, you're right there, stay there. It's just a matter of time where you get the right buyer. And here's the thing. The problem is, in the real estate industry, everybody assumes if you've got a license for more than a year, the agent's an expert. But the problem is there's an 87% turnover in real estate agents every 5 years. So if you look back 5 years ago, the market was booming. All you had to do was open a door and ask for 3%, and you're doing great, right? Not the case anymore. It's a little bit tougher when the market's correcting. And even the buyer's agents don't understand what to do because they're thinking, okay, I'm going to come in with this crazy lowball offer and ask for closing costs and maximize my commission, and I'm going to get fries with that too. It doesn't work that way. So the sellers are very resistant to play. Some of them won't even counter at all. So most agents aren't really trained or haven't had the experience to deal with a correcting market. That's why what we saw in 2024, 71% of agents sold zero donut, no homes, right? So there's a problem. And there's this weird assumption about whether or not the home is priced right. The market's going to leave clues very quickly. If it sits on the market, it could be stale. If you're seeing comparable homes sell faster that are in your neighborhood, it could be price, it could be condition, it could be upgrades. It's all these different things. We have about half of the home sellers lowering their price. I just presented an offer to a home seller just a few weeks ago, and it was a fixer-upper, but that's what the buyer wanted. However, their asking price was full-on market value as if it was remodeled. And when the buyer came in with a lower than that offer, and he was willing to pay it. I wouldn't have bought that home, but anyways, he's willing to pay it. And the agent came back and said, no, we have comps, we have an appraisal, right? So they got some appraiser to give an opinion of value, but not very often do I see appraisers make offers based on their opinion of value, right? They're not buying the house, right? They're just, I don't know. It was shocking to me. And so that was a month ago, and that house is still sitting on the market. So if you're thinking of making a move, you really want somebody that's actively selling in this market. Otherwise, they don't know what's going on. They're just guessing, and that's where mistakes can happen. So give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She should be your real estate voice. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the how and why to change real estate agents when the sale is just not working here in Colorado. Barb will tell us about that.
No, I went long. I'm having trouble. I got this new iPad. Because my last one crashed after like 6 years.
Oh my gosh.
And
I don't even want to, I think I told
How many have you gone through?
me or her.
You.
what?
Me, yeah, well. Thing
How
is,
many have you gone through, Richard?
I probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I have 9.
Wow.
And only one of them works consistently. My phone died, and there is good news. If you bought it from Apple,
Mhm.
I walked into Apple, my phone's dead. And within an hour, they were able to wipe it clean, restart it, put the majority of my information back on it. And I'm like, okay, so can we check out now? How much is it going to be? It's nothing, Richard. You bought it from us. We stand behind our product. I'm like,
That's
wow.
nice.
I could not believe it. And that's the one up in Briargate. And the only downside is I did miss a couple of days because I hadn't backed up a couple of days after Christmas. And then it gives me all of my information, but I had all of the photos of you. I had a little file folder, Barb Schlinker, and, just probably 35, 50 file folders. So if I wanted to look for a photo, I only had to go to one place. I lost all of that. So I have over 100,000 photos that I now need to sort.
It wasn't in the cloud?
Nope. Well, the photos were, but not the albums that I had them in. So I got all the photos back. I just have to go through and put them in the right locations. I'm looking forward to that. Not really.
Anyway, this poor iPad just wouldn't charge. Finally, it just died. It died the day I bought the new one.
Everybody early on was talking about how dependent you're going to get on this or this or this. You know what? Yeah, guess what? I mean, these things just do so much over the course of our day, whether it's professionally, personally, whatever. And yeah, I mean, I can't imagine starting my day without, if I had to just go with a laptop or something, I could do it. But all right, I got number 3 locked and loaded, as they say.
Okay, ready?
We'll call it back. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She should be your real estate voice, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers have a great deal of love for their properties, and sometimes that translates into a bit of unrealistic beliefs, resulting in some mistakes either in agent selection, pricing, or marketing, perhaps, or all 3 of them. What should a home seller do if their home is not selling?
I don't know what's going on here. For some reason, the slides aren't working.
I'm going to let you sort that out. I'm going to get just a quick drink of water
Okay.
because
Let me just have a little chat with Mr. Griff. Griff. They should be banking agents. Any slides? If not, I will wing it. I can wing it. Okay.
Just say the tail end of that before we go to you.
I think the question I want you really to ask is, how do you know if a seller should, how do you know if it's time to change agents?
Okay, I'll do that in
That's it.
3, 2, 1. So, Barb, given all the circumstances, how does a home seller know when it's time to actually change agents?
Well, Richard, selling a home, everybody assumes that when I put my house on the market, it's going to sell. And unfortunately, every month it has a 65% failure rate for various reasons. Sometimes it's not the house, sometimes it's the buyer, sometimes it's the agent, sometimes it's pricing, sometimes it's preparation, sometimes it's how it's marketed online. All these things can prevent a home from selling. So, if it's pricing and promotion, those are easily fixable things, very easily fixable things. But some agents and some home sellers actually kind of have a pessimistic view about it. And they'll say, well, anybody can lower the price. Right. But if all the stars are aligned and it's marketed correctly and it's still not selling, then it's something else. So at the end of the day, it's not the agent that decides what it's worth. It's not the seller that decides what it's worth. It's what the buyer is willing to pay. So if you have a promotion problem, like a marketing problem, that's also very easily fixable. A lot of agents solely rely on what I call the post and hope strategy. They get some pictures, more and more of them are doing professional photos, which I think that's good, but sometimes still not. And then they stick it in the multiple listing service and they hope and pray somebody else has a buyer that will buy their listing. They may or may not take great photos. They may or may not have their own buyers. And then the other question is, are they really marketing the best attributes of the home? Are they really talking about what would make this home stand out over the sea of other homes? And we're already early in the year getting to, just in this area, over 3,000 homes. That's on the high side of inventory. Typically, we'll see that kind of inventory in the summer. And then the other question is, when they're promoting, do they really know what's going on in the market? I've talked to agents, I talk to them every day, and they're assuming it's a buyer's market and we deserve a discount and we're going to come in with a low price and we're going to ask for closing costs and try to get stuff for the buyer. But if they're not aware that there's other interest in the home, or if they don't ask that question and they get shot down, their buyer, loses out on the house. So I'm not saying every seller should switch real estate agents if it's not selling. It might be a really simple thing that fixes it. I get questions like this every week from sellers that are signed with other agents. I'm just saying, start with trying to give the agent a chance to resolve the issue. I mean, some of the stuff I hear is astounding. I had one where the listing expired, not for a day or two, but like weeks. So when a listing expires, there are agents that market to expired listings, and they'll find the seller's phone number and call and go, hey, your home is no longer on the market. Would you like to list with me? So that's what they do. And that's oftentimes how the seller finds out it dropped off the market. Sometimes it's just a data error and it's easy to fix, but it shouldn't go on for weeks, right? That's a party foul right there. Or I had one that said, I heard of one that said, let me keep listing. We've got some interest. Let me just extend one more day or one more week. And he's like, okay, did you want to send me over the extension form? Because it does have to be in writing. Oh, well, I don't want to do all that paperwork. I'm like, it's one page. It's not rocket science. So, I don't know. There's no job description to be a real estate agent, none whatsoever. The only thing they train and kind of teach and regulate is how to fill out a contract that was created by attorneys and how to keep the broker out of trouble and what they can and cannot do, right? But other than that, they don't teach them the stuff that the consumers expect that we know. things like marketing, how to get business, things like how to handle objections. So let's say you're in the house and the buyer loves everything except, there's a way to handle that, right? There's a way to handle objections when you're there with the buyer. And instead of saying, well, if you really love this home, maybe we should go to the office and explore it further. Instead, oh, let's go look at more homes, right? And then it's just a sea of homes that they get confused about. So I would say first, give them a chance to resolve the issue. But how do you identify that there are reasons? Is there a lack of communication? Did the house not sell? Was the promotion wrong? Did the agent put the needs of the seller ahead of their own needs? If they are signed under a seller agency, they should be. But I see all kinds of stuff out there. And then I see confusion about what's really in the state form to handle the sale. Like they'll say, okay, well, if you're going to switch agents, then anybody that showed during my listing, you still owe me a commission. Well, that's not what the contract says. And a lot of agents don't even know that. So, I'm going to talk about that in the second half of this segment, but you don't want a post and hope agent. You want an agent that's going to help you get to the finish line. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how and why to change real estate agents if the sale is not working. And then next up, we're going to talk about some things that you should know if you are thinking of making a change. And if you are, we'd love to talk to you. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
I'm Richard Randall. Take my word on it. Barb will not only get you to the finish line, she will get you across the finish line. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. So Barb, if a home seller has to make a real estate agent switch, what are the reasons and ways to change real estate agents?
Well, I mean, the reasons, let's start with the reasons. It's really interesting that the state forms really don't talk much about performance. We have to use them. If we don't use them, they could take us to the Division of Real Estate and, fine us basically. But there's nothing there about the quality of performance, although it does say that if the agent didn't do what they promised to do, whether it's verbal or written, you have a right to cancel the contract, right? So what was that? Are they making promises? Are they doing what they said they're going to do? And that is the question. And it's somewhat subjective, but it's in the exclusive right to sell contract under paragraph 19. It basically says if they don't fulfill their obligations, then you could cancel the agreement, even if it's not expired yet. A lot of people think that they have to wait until the expiration of the agreement, but that's not necessarily true. But what I find striking is that the state forms don't really say anything about what the agent should be doing. It's more of, okay, I'll do a good job and I won't tell people you're willing to accept less than asking. And that's about it. Now, the uniform duties are kind of in general, like keeping the seller performed, presenting all offers in a timely manner, that kind of thing. I've heard of agents actually changing the price of a listing without written permission from the seller. Could you imagine, Richard?
I cannot imagine that at all. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, but most people, most of the consuming public does not necessarily want to make waves and go to World War III about it. It's not worth it. Generally, they're just going to make a switch if crazy stuff like that takes place. But it's unusual, but it does happen once in a while. So the big question I get from home sellers is, if I switch agents, and let's say somebody showed back during my previous listing, do I also owe them a commission too? Well, first of all, they don't tell us who they are showing with. We know who the agent is because they have to schedule a showing and we get their name and email and phone number. We know when they showed, but we don't know who they showed unless we had it on video, and we still don't know their names, right? So the real rule is about who owes the commission has to do with what they call an unbroken chain of events. The agent showed the home, the buyer made an offer, there was no hesitation. If there's a month break and then they come back and make an offer, which sometimes happens, that's a broken chain of events, right? So whoever brings the offer and whoever's listing it is at the time, that's where the commission is owed. But there's this clause in the state exclusive right to sell contract that says holdover. And a lot of agents have a weird perception about what that means. So that would be one paragraph of all of the paragraphs in the exclusive right to sell as a seller that I'd raise my eyebrow and lean forward and get some details on. I actually don't fill it out. If I get fired, I'm moving on. I'm busy enough. I don't, I want happy clients, essentially. That is more important to me than fighting with somebody over a maybe deal. It doesn't make sense. So generally the home sellers really don't like breaking the bad news and say, okay, this isn't working. We're gonna, explore other options. The agreement actually belongs to the employing broker, not the real estate agent underneath them. But so sometimes I've heard of brokers getting in and go, oh, let me insert some other agent to try to make this work. And it's up to you at the end of the day. And it's about what they promised. Did they do what they promised or not? I've heard of some where the photos were bad. The seller asked them to update the photos. They didn't do it. And then they're surprised when they get fired. So if you're thinking of making a switch like that, read your agreement, make sure you keep a copy of it, ask some good questions, have some specific reasons. And sometimes a fresh pair of eyes on a problem can really solve the problem. So if you are thinking of making a move, we have a free report that you can order on our website if you're going to make a change. It's called the 10 questions you must ask when you're hiring an agent. Just go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button, free report, and you can download that for free. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, you can reach Barb at 719-301-3900 or by visiting barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing what are the cost of selling a house in Colorado plus Barb's hot new listings.
All right. Hopefully I was gentle enough with that topic.
You were. I mean, I was, there's so much that I think sometimes, and part of it is, you know what? It's a relationship. It's a fiduciary relationship. And like any relationship, employment, person, whatever, sometimes relationships just quit working. And
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It was very, succinct way of saying it. So
well, I don't know that, but all right. Yeah, I'm kind of a long talker. All right. It is. Yeah, I do get paid to be a long talker, so there is that. That's kind of good. All right, here we go. Are you ready, Barb?
I'm ready.
I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, before people put their homes on the market, they often want to know the cost of selling a home. How do they know the cost of selling a home and how much they will put in their pocket when it does sell?
Well, I mean, real estate is definitely negotiable. Everything has to be in writing. So I have some agents that think they're the master negotiator of the universe, and they'll call and go, hey, will your seller accept this? If they do, we'll write an offer. Otherwise, we won't. It's just, to me, it's very unprofessional. It tells the seller that they're not really serious. They're just fishing. And it's not very impressive. But I will tell you that people believe it when you put it in writing. Our state contracts, which are called a contract to buy and sell real estate, are 20 plus pages long. and they have to sign it, and they have to substantiate that they have the ability to buy with either a pre-approval or proof of funds. That looks more serious than just a phone conversation. And it's law anyway. It doesn't matter what's said on the phone. If it's not in writing, it's not real. So when it comes to what does it cost to sell a home, really the net number has to do with a lot of different factors. So it starts with pricing to get an offer. Until you get an offer and you have an agreement, you don't know what that number is. You can be in the ballpark and be pretty close, but pricing a home incorrectly and waiting month after month after month to get a buyer can actually cost you more money because you have to hold the carrying cost. Now, if you're living there, it's no problem. But I couldn't believe when I was showing last weekend, almost absolutely every home that we looked at was not occupied. So there's some cost to that. You got to pay utilities. None of them had the snow removed, right? You got to pay to have the snow removed. You have to pay the mortgage. All that stuff costs money over time. So how long are you going to have the house sitting there and it not selling? You have to make a decision about that first. So pricing at what I call realistically versus optimistically generally gets the home sold in a relatively quick amount of time. And, according to national studies, a seller that prices high and then slowly walks the price down is going to net less money, right? And you can't price it according to the Zillow's estimates. You can't price it necessarily to similar sales. You have to look at your home very objectively and go, I want to sell. So here's an example. I met with a seller recently and I said, I think it's worth this number. However, do you want to wait 126 days for it to get a contract and have buyers pick it apart? Or you want to sell it fast? He goes, I want it fast. So he priced it about 5% below what it should sell for. We had 100 people at the open house and it sold for $26,000 over asking. Okay. Why is that? Because the buyers saw it as the best deal, even though there's lots of homes on the market, right? Buyers saw it as the best deal for their budget at the time. So pricing is a critical part of it. And a lot of people think if they build in money for negotiating room, that's going to net them more money. And it's actually just the opposite. You have to consider everything. What's the competition? How pretty is the house compared to competition? How realistic is the house in pricing? Like if it needs a little bit of work and a little bit of updating, price it realistically. I helped a family 2 years ago, nice location, pretty views. It wasn't perfect. It had granite counters. The appliances were a little roughed up. She did replace flooring. So she did the basics, which was critical. And her husband's like, I said, I think it's worth this much. Do you want a price there? He goes, no, you told us to price realistically. So he came in about 25,000 less, huge dog pile of buyers, and it sold for 50,000 over asking. It's just the opposite of what you would think. And that's usually the best way to make it work. So how do you figure out that number? Basically, you're comparing apples to apples first, but you're also looking at what the current competition is, and especially the homes that are getting contracts right now. That would tell you what the market's doing right now. So what are the costs to selling a house? A lot of people really go for the commission. Well, what's your commission? They ask that question. But at the end of the day, most people's largest expense is the mortgage, okay? Then the next largest expense actually could be repairs. I've seen extraordinary expenses for repairs. Things like septic systems, $30,000. Things like new roofs could be $20,000, $30,000, right? And a lot of people wait until the unlicensed inspector, after they go under contract, calls out the house for its flaws before they actually address getting bids for the repairs. And to me, that's a big mistake. Some of the big ticket items that I see all the time are roofs, sewer lines, and then paint and carpet's really just a cosmetic thing. It's not really that expensive, but a lot of people think it's commission. It's not commission. That's a minor cost, right? And then lately, the buyers have been asking the seller to pay some of their loan closing costs. In other words, they don't have as much cash to pay to try to cover their loan closing cost and or buy down their interest rate. So they ask the seller to pay it, right? But everything is negotiable. There's been so many times that if the buyer was in that situation, I went up in price to cover their deficit in cash. And as long as it's fairly reasonable, the buyer's like, oh, okay, I only have to put $200 more down, right? My loan might be just a tad bigger, but I get the house, right? So I'll give you an example of recent bidding war that I had. And it was fun to create this big wide spreadsheet and show them every expense. And the critical data point was what was the bottom line. Now, in this case, the seller did not accept the highest offer because the highest offer was less likely to get to the finish line. They picked the next highest offer that actually was going to close fast and get it done very quickly, because that was what his motivation was. Not sell fast, not sell, maximize every dollar they possibly could, but by pricing it lower and getting multiple offers, all those buyers threw their best hat, their highest and best offer in the ring, and he ended up getting the right buyer for the house. So if you are thinking of making a move, this is what we do for sellers every day. We sit down with them, we look at their home, we give them ideas on where to price realistically, regardless of the condition of the home, show them exactly what all their expenses are and how much they're going to put in their pocket after all expenses are paid off when it sells. We do this all the time for folks. It's a free service. You're never obligated to sell with us. Just give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can listen to the replays of the show anytime you'd like on the major podcast platforms, plus Barb's website, barbhasthebuyers.com. Just look for Barb Schlinker. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900. Barb, you've got some hot new listings for us. Tell us about them.
I do. Inventory is building up. We just got a new price on my VA-owned property out in Yoder. It's on 35 acres, priced at $179. I mean, the land is almost worth that much. It needs a little bit of repairs, but it's got a metal roof, and with a little bit of cosmetic help, you're walking into equity. Another great home, very similar like that, up in the mountains, 5413 County Road 100 in Florissant, on 2 acres, priced at $240, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, really great little mountain cabin for someone that wants to get away at just $240,000. We have another home in the southwest part of town in Autumn Heights, Unit A, priced at $299. This home has basically 2 master suites, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, great lot, and priced at $299. We also have a really fabulous home kind of close to Union and Circle on 2436 North Meade Avenue, priced at $325. Great home, updated windows, hardwood flooring, really nice 1-car garage rather, priced at $325. And then new to the market down in Lorson Ranch, this home also owned by the VA, 6613 Mumford Drive, priced at $335. So it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath, nice lot. It does have a little bit of cosmetic work needed. The appliance, almost all of the appliances are missing. Somebody stole the quartz counters on the countertop, which is dumb, on the island. And other than that, a buyer could get into a home that would normally sell for about $400,000 at a good price and finance those little minor repairs into their loan. Also have another great house on down in Fountain on North El Paso. This is a low price 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, big yard and lot. And that one previously had some kind of freeze break. It's kind of flood cut in the basement, but you could live in the home on the main level and take your time fixing up the basement level, which is all functioning now. And it's priced at $300,500. So, if you look back in history, Richard, back during the boom, you couldn't buy anything for less than $400,000. And it was a love shack.
at all, at all. I mean, the times change, and that's why I recommend you, Barb, because you have been doing this for a time. You've seen it go up and down, and you've gone through all of the various cycles.
Yeah, we have another great home in Woodland Park. This is really a cool older home on a scenic location. It has a 2-car garage in the back. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 1/4 baths, nice kitchen, priced in the mid threes. Another house that's probably going to be gone by the time this airs, down in Lorson Ranch. Low priced. It's a fixer upper, but it has good bones. That one has a bunch of offers. We have another VA property on Bramble Lane, priced in the mid threes. Hitting the market this week. We'll be featuring it this weekend on Solar Face Court, priced at $399,800. A ranch with a finished basement, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, and 2 car. And then coming very soon, this amazing home out on Judge Orr Road. This property is on 80 acres, is priced at $1.39 million. It actually has an auxiliary dwelling unit, a beautiful custom main home. It's got 2 barns. There's enough space to handle at least 10 cars parked inside. It really is a very special property, so I'm excited to present that to the market. Another two homes in the 80920 zip code, one in Fairfax in Briargate on Stable Court, backs to open space at 539.9. We also have a beautiful one on Ross Drive on 1 acre with 4-car garage. Really, really nice home, gorgeous yard in the mid sevens. Great home in Florissant in the mid fours on a couple of acres. And then this home just had some updating on Capitol Peak Way, low fives, fresh carpet, in great condition, backs to open space at 519. Amazing home on Broadmoor Bluffs Drive at 649.9. This home backs to NORAD. Great lot, beautiful views. And then one of my colleagues has a beautiful 2-story with a 3-car garage at 700,000 on Mineral Belt Drive, plus a gorgeous lot up in Lake George on Hidden Valley. And that one has the potential of having 5 acres. So if you want to find out about all of our properties, go to barbhasthebuyers.com and click on featured homes at the top, and you'll be able to see all of them. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. If you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get... Let's do that again. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. If you're thinking of selling your home and want to get the most amount of money when you do so, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Great talking to you this week. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
There you go.
All right, we got her.
Let's see here. How's